Welcome to Elephant Trek. This is the largest habitat that the zoo horticulture has ever taken on. It's a 5-acre habitat for the Asian elephant. It's one of our most tropical habitats that we've ever done, and we'd like to welcome you and walk you through this habitat. The very first area you're going to go to is the Asian Waterfall Garden, and that is just going to be a beautiful garden for years to come.
Welcome to the Asian Waterfall Garden. I'm Jerome in Horticulture, and there are 3 guiding principles we use when we're designing landscapes in the zoo. They are based off of scale, depth, and plant diversity. Now with Elephant Trek, the dial has been turned to 11, and you can see that walking through this featured garden as you enter Elephant Trek. The depth is really unique throughout the habitat and also in the garden. Very long view lines that run all the way down to the habitat from these overlooks, and really provides a nice sense of place and a calming place where you can kind of escape from the main areas of the zoo and plan the rest of your day. The scale of the garden is truly unique because it's based around some pre-existing plants that we worked around to protect, such as this giant old elm tree and this very large stand of bamboo that frames the garden in, kind of creating a room-like atmosphere. This old elm is probably about 200 years old and rivals the catalpas at Swan Lake as the oldest trees in the zoo. And this tree dwarfs every other plant in this garden and almost lends itself this crazy scale that is really fun and puts things into perspective when we talk about sustainability and the long-lived nature of trees. The plant diversity is a really wonderful aspect of this garden. A lot of these herbaceous plants and shrubs that you see were grown at Boyer Farm, and a lot of them were also grown at the Rockdale Urban Learning Garden. Now, there's a tropical motif to this garden, but interlaced within all of those lush tropicals are many eastern US native plants, such as 4 varieties of mountain mint, many types of carex or sedge, and a few other surprises that you'll have to come check out as you explore this garden. So here we are by the waterfall. There are a lot of water features throughout the project to lend a sort of a soothing, calm, meditative feel to the space. Throughout these streams, we have pockets of very unique plants, some of our large tropical irises you see here. And this is actually a really special native prairie plant called Arno-glossum, or pale Indian plantain. Now, it's unrelated to Asia. It's a native US plant, but it has this very broad, leathery leaf that kind of has a tropical feel to it, but it's a US prairie plant. So this plant's gonna get 5-6 feet tall with these big white flowers on them in midsummer. It's a really special plant. You don't see it a lot in landscapes, and we planted groves of it throughout Elephant Trek, so we're excited to see those mature and come into bloom. So this is kind of a kitchen sink garden. As an Asian waterfall garden, we wanted to highlight some traditional Zen garden plants, such as the Japanese maple. This cultivar is Koto no Ito. And then we also have a dwarf ginkgo here. But really, by throwing all these elements together, it's not just a Japanese Zen garden. This is a new selection of Baptisia, which is a native plant that has more of a chartreuse golden leaf. And this is a new plant that you might see on the market in garden centers in the coming years. But we're trialing it here as part of our plant trials. Behind the Baptisia is a very unique plant that lends amazing texture to the garden. It's called dog fennel. It's a southeastern native plant. This selection is a sterile variety. It can get a little seedy, but we might be using this throughout the habitat depending on how it overwinters. It almost looks like asparagus in the way how delicate its foliage is. So we're interested to see how things come out. You can see it kind of back there behind it to the left as well. This is an experimental garden. We're just seeing what works, and I'm very excited to see how it grows over time.
Well, now we're going to walk through. It starts out here in the front of the habitat where we basically come off the main loop, and this is like a whole separate area now. And we tried to do a little bit more tropical ambiance. We're using some of the Asian plants, like this is Chinese fan palm, which is native to the areas where the elephants roam. It's fairly hardy up until about, I'd say November. So it'll have some good presence, but we'll have to pull it back and store it over winter. But it's a very important part of the look and feel. And all throughout, we've got all kinds of tropical flowering plants, ferns as ground cover, but also one of the key things is making sure that we have enough long-term plants for the future. We have just put in some catalpa to your left. These are probably some of the largest trees we put in. The catalpa is kind of interesting because back in the late 1800s, our old director, Sol Stephan, the first zoo director, he put in catalpa right along the lake where Swan Lake is today. And the whole idea was that it would look like where the Asian elephants came from. And here we are in 2024 doing the same thing. And hopefully 100 years from now, people can come back and see these big, large, beautiful catalpa that actually look like teak trees in the native habitat of the Asian elephant. So that's why we chose catalpa. And as we stroll through here, it's really remarkably shady, mainly because we've kept a lot of the existing trees, and we worked the habitat around some of the key elements, the large patches of bamboo that have been here. Here's some just beautiful perodia that have been here for the last 20, 25 years. And just keeping a few of these beautiful patches of green really made this exhibit look like it's been here for a very long time. And as we turn the corner, this is one of the aha moments where we have lots of waterfalls and trees, and again in the future this will be a kind of a forested area, and that's why there's so many trees planted fairly tightly together to create that feel. And we don't quite want you to see the elephants at this point, so we screened out the path that leads down to the elephant area. And like you said, the whole idea of keeping old existing plantings in with the new, this waterfall and building is nestled in amongst a large patch of bamboo that has been there 30 years. And the giant elm that was protected that has been there over 200 years. This is what really adds to the ambiance of the Asian feel, and it's just something you don't see with a whole lot of construction, is tucking things in to these areas. And a lot of diversity in here, with the giant reed grass next to the water features. And that was one of the things that we wanted to just use different plant material than people are used to seeing in Cincinnati. And that's a hardy grass that'll get up 15, 18 feet tall. Another aspect of this project is that we've added so many different herbaceous perennials into here. This is one of the eupatoriums or bonesets, and here it is in full bloom. There will be just loads of insects, pollinator insects, and again, that's pretty typical of a lot of our plantings, as we add a whole layer of herbaceous material for basically plants for pollinators all throughout this habitat.
So part of our job, is to make grade work, and with that, comes the fun part of using creative materials in kind of an artistic way. So we get to use this natural stone and big logs that we kind of source locally to make grade work, and also throw in some seating elements along the pathway. And even using these little pockets that these rocks create to plant up and add more green into the landscape. We're kind of leaving the fully planted up area and making our way down into a zone that's still under construction. So as you can kind of see, we're planting trees. That's kind of the first step of the process. Then we're going to get our shrub layer in, and then we'll fill in with perennials and have a finished landscape. And as you come down further, you can see the landscape kind of just starts out as a dirt hole, and we've got to do some excavation to get all the fill dirt out. We'll bring in fresh soil, and then use logs and rocks to retain anything we need to make grade work. And then we start planting the trees and fill up the landscape.
And as part of the elephant habitat, you can see we actually left several large trees that were in basically what was the old Whiting Grove picnic area. And by working around those trees, we've provided shade for the elephants on day one. But then also over here you see a raised planter with several elms and catalpa in the planter that hopefully will get into the 50, 60 foot size, that will then provide a lot more shade for the habitat as well. So natural shade in the habitat is very important to us. So I hope you enjoyed the tour of Elephant Trek. The horticulture department has been super busy, and it's taken a lot of our team's effort to pull this off. And it is the most diverse habitat we've ever done, and it's very exciting. I think there's something, every day you come, you'll see something new in bloom, and I hope you enjoy it.